You are watching Darasa Online.
Welcome to Darasa Online again. It is economic session, the interesting session, because we said economics is useful to everyone. So our today's lesson, we are going to discuss on the theory of market. That is, so our subject here, it is economics. Our topic, it is theory of market. Theory of market. Then our subtopic. Last time we tried to check on the issue of perfect market and the monopoly. Then today we are going to concentrate on monopolistic market. Monopolistic market and the oligopoly market. This is what we are going to discuss today. That is monopolistic market and the oligopoly market. Now we start with the monopolistic market. Again, the aim of this lesson or this revision is to at least to help students to differentiate different market structures, because some of you, they fail to differentiate between the monopolistic market and the monopoly market probably. So after this lesson, we are aiming to make sure that each of you is capable to differentiate different market structures, and probably you can be capable to attempt some different questions. So when we speak of monopolistic market, a monopolistic market is a market structure with the many sellers and the buyers selling commodities which are highly differentiated with the close substitute. That is monopolistic market. So for monopolistic market, this is a market structure where we have many buyers, many sellers. But these sellers, they are selling commodities which are highly differentiated. We will see later on when we say product differentiation, differentiated, what do we mean? But this is in this market, that this market, they sell differentiated products, but those products, they are highly close substitute. This is for monopolistic market. So it means in this market, products are highly differentiated, but these products have also high close substitute. It means you can substitute one product to another one. A good example of this market, before we see very far, we have market for those market for water. Those people who forget about distributing water in the society, we speak of drinking water. For example, if we have companies like Uhai Drinking Water, we have maybe Afya Drinking Water, Maisha Drinking Water, and other companies. These are some examples of water companies which are producing and supplying water. But also we have those companies, for example, which they are producing and supplying juices and some other forms of minor sodas. These companies, they are in form of monopolistic market. The differentiation we are talking here, for example, how can you differentiate Hill water from Afya water? That I want to drink Hill beside Hill water. That means there are something you see that Hill water is different from Afya. That Kilimanjaro water is different from Udizungwa water, because those product differentiation. They are all selling water which is substitute to one another, but they have differentiated them in such a way that customers, they can differentiate that this maybe Hill is better than this one, or this one is better than this one. This is for the case of this company. So these are monopolistic market. Now, features of this market. Features or characteristics. So we go, the first feature from definition, we say this market, there is many sellers and buyers. There are many sellers and buyers in the market. This is monopolistic market. The second one, products are highly differentiated with the cross substitute. You see, that is one of the characteristics, that in this market the products are highly differentiated, but they have cross substitute. I said the issue of water. How can you see the difference between Coca-Cola and the Pepsi? How do they differ? They are like tasting the same. That's why in the absence of Coca-Cola, you can use Pepsi because they are highly substitute. But how do they differentiate them? We will see different techniques which are used to differentiate them. This is feature number 2. Number 3, firms are price maker. When we say price maker, means each firm has monopoly power on price for his or her product. It means firms, they have monopoly power on their product, they have monopoly power to make a price, they have power to influence price because they can determine the cost of using production, then they can set their own price. Though I said because of high competition among them, it is not easy to find the price differ very much because of competition. But in reality, these firms, they have power to make their own price. They have power to influence the market price. It means, for example, for Coca-Cola maybe and Pepsi, each one has got power to make its own price. But if you make them price to be very high, different from your friend, it means because the products have got high cross substitute, they can run away from buying your product, they buy to the substitute. For that case, you find the prices do not differ that much. If they differ, for example, in the case of Tanzania, maybe you can find they differ by 100 or they are sold at the same price. For example, the issue of water. If it is 1 liter, the difference is very minor from one company to another one. They can differ maybe at 50 shillings or they differ at 100. So for that case, firms, they have power to make their own price. Number 4, there is product differentiation. Product differentiation, these are strategies which are used by producers to differentiate their product from other products. Because you say this product, they have a cross substitute. Now, how do firms try to differentiate their product from the other product? For example, maybe how do Kilimanjaro company producing water tries to differentiate water, Kilimanjaro water, from other suppliers of water? What can make customers to say that this water is better than this one or have to buy this one from this one? It means there are strategies that firm they have to do to make sure that their product, they differ from that one. So the competition here is not on price. The competition is on a different aspect. For example, here we have maybe, for example, they use maybe issues of labeling. They make sure that their products are well labeled than other markets or than other products. They use issue of advertisement. Maybe they advertise much their product so that it reaches many customers and they can be capable to buy them out of the other commodities. That means maybe this company X has been advertised more than the other one. Then they can catch more customers than others. We have another one like maybe grading. In terms of grading the product, they grade more better than other people. Packaging can also be good than the other one. So these are what they can make product differentiation in the market for one firm and the other firm in this type of market. This is for the case of that one. Then another point, firms in this market, they produce at excess capacity. They produce at excess capacity. Now recall from what we did in the class, what is excess capacity? Meaning that because monopolistic market, it is a form of imperfect market. A form of imperfect market. Now this market, they produce, or firms, they produce at excess capacity. What is excess capacity? It means firms under monopolistic market, they reach equilibrium. they reach equilibrium before the minimal point of the AC curve or before optimal point. It means, for example, if we have the AC curve like this one, this is the AC curve. It means the optimal point is this one because frame is expected to produce at lowest point at this point. This is the minimal point. And we expect frame probably to reach equilibrium when they reach this point because this is indicating the lowest cost of production because this is a cost per output. It means if you produce at this point, it means you are producing at the lowest point of the AC curve. So that means the lowest cost. Now, most of them in the monopolistic market, they reach equilibrium before reaching this point. Then we say this is excess capacity. We can draw a diagram here to appear good, like this one can differentiate. It means if we have a monopolistic market, remember we have this are quantity, this is either price or revenue. It means we have this is the AR. AR means the average revenue, and we have the MR here. Now, if we have this is the MC curve. Remember, equilibrium of the firm is enjoyed when MC is equal to MR. So it means equilibrium will be here. That is equilibrium point. Then assuming now that the AC curve, maybe it is this one. Sorry, it is this one. This is AC curve. It means at this particular point, the firm is at equilibrium, then this is the equilibrium point. So we can see. Now for that particular time, it means this point A, it is indicating equilibrium of the firm, point A here. Equilibrium of the firm. And the firm has reached equilibrium here, while the minimum point of the AC is here. So it means this, if we check these two equilibrium, this is equilibrium output, but this is optimal output. So it means the firm has reached the equilibrium before reaching the minimum point of the AC. And this point is, we say this is optimum firm, a firm which is producing at the lowest cost of output. Now for that case, QE will be the equilibrium output, and this one will be the optimal output. So the firm is producing before reaching the minimum point of the C curve. So at excess capacity, you will find the equilibrium output is less than the optimal output. That's why now we say firms under monopolistic market, they produce at excess capacity just because they reach equilibrium before reaching the minimum point of the AC curve. Then you say they produce at excess capacity. This is one of the feature or condition of this market. Then, having seen this characteristics of a monopolistic market and the examples, let's go to check the oligopoly market. Oligopoly market. Now, oligopoly market, here we say mono means one. Now, oligo means few, very few. It means oligopoly market is a market structure with the few large firms. Don't confuse there. Few large firms selling either differentiated or homogeneous product. This is point to note that when we speak of oligopoly market, this is a market structure where there are few large, don't confuse. Few means number of that firm, it is very small, that is few. And in some cases, you'll find these firms, they can be even less than 10 in the economy. They are not many, they are very few. So that is few. When you say large, it means those firms, they are few, but they are very large. That means they own very large capital. They are well established. That is very large. This is when we speak of few large. It means very few companies, but well economically, large in terms of their shares, large in terms of their experience. That is large firms. When we say large firm means which is covering large area, even in terms of area firms. But they sell either differentiated. It means these firms, they might be selling goods which are are different, they differ. But also they can sell homogeneous. That means goods which they are the same. This when we say was oligopoly market. That is oligopoly market. Now example of this market for the case we have, for example, market related to, for example, maybe oil supplying, oil in terms of petroleum, diesel, those are oil. These are kind of oligopoly market. We have issues of supermarkets. Supermarkets, they are in form of oligopoly market. The way they compete and the other forms, that is supermarket. So supermarket, they are also example of oligopoly market structures. This is some examples. In Tanzania, it means we have this kind of market structures, and we try to see them and how they operate. Now, let's check the features or the characteristics of this market structure. Features or characteristics of these market structures. So, features of oligopoly. Now, the first feature of oligopoly market, we check from the definition. So, there is existence of few large firms. So the number of firms, they are few, very few, but they are large. Large in terms of size, large in terms of shares, large in terms of operation, they are very large. For example, when I was taking example of oil supplying companies, when we say this company is Total, I think we know Total, which is one of the suppliers of oil even in Tanzania. This company, it is working maybe worldwide. For that case, in Tanzania, you can find they are everywhere. So if you count the number of companies supplying oil in Tanzania, for example, they are not that much many, but they are established, they are large enough. That means like Total, we have those like Puma, Oilcom, etc. Those companies, they are very few supplying oil, but they are they are large. That is one of the feature. The second feature, we have there is barriers of entry and exit. To enter into this market, there are barriers. It is not easy to enter and to become part and parcel of supplying these commodities. So in oligopoly market, there are kind of barriers which they limit new firm from entering into the market. But also when you exit or you leave the industry, there are also barriers. There might be some procedures until you become part and parcel of that market. So in this market, there are barriers of entry in the market. Another one, product can be differentiated or homogeneous. It means they can sell either homogeneous product or differentiated product. When we say homogeneous, means identical product, the same product, similar product. But when we say different, means they differ. They can have substitute, but they differ. Because having substitute can differ, but to have substitute one another. This is when we speak of one of the features of oligopoly market. Number four, we say these firms, there is high interdependence. There is high interdependence, and this interdependence is very common in decision making. It means in the oligopoly market, firms, they depend from one another. That means a firm cannot make decision without checking the decision of the rival. Rival means the counterpart. You have to check before either lowering price or before supplying more output in the market. You have to check what is your rival doing, what is the competitor doing, because you're competing in the market. So before you make any decision, you have to check what is your friend or what is your competitor doing. For that case, we say this market has got very big interdependence, because there is no decision of one firm which cannot affect the other firm. So because when you make a decision, you have to affect the whole firms in the market. For that case, this market, it has got very high interdependence among those firms. Again, we have the other one, which we have the so-called existence of group or joint behavior or decision. It means these people in oligopoly market, they have a tendency of making group or joint decision. We'll see later on, for example, when they form, it is very possible to find the collusion. Collusion is that tendency of oligopoly firms to join together so that they have joint what? Decision. They join together. For example, we have the common item called the OPEC. This is known worldwide. Oil and petroleum exporting countries. This is OPEC. Oil and petroleum exporting countries. These countries, they are now almost 15 countries. They are the largest supplier and producer of oil in the world. Now, to supply them, they have collude. They have formed the collusion that they will be supplying them in form of in a group. So when we supply oil worldwide, it means they are supplied under OPEC, which is the union of all countries producing and supplying oil in the world. For that case, they have formed the collusion. So it is very possible to find the behavior decision in the market. For example, we have also issues of, they form issues like leadership, price leadership. Price leadership where when one firm decides to set a price, other firms they have to follow. And you have discussed in the class several types of price leadership. For example, the low cost price leadership, the barometric price leadership, and other forms of price leadership. The aim is to make sure that these firms, they have close relation, they have joint relation, they have joint decision because of their interdependence. This is for the case of this one. And the last feature or characteristic, it is the existence of price war or price rigidity. That is number 6. Existence of price war, or we say price rigidity. That is, what do we mean? Price war, it means these people, they compete in price. There is price war. Price rigidity means a tendency where firms are worried. We say they have interdependence. So each firm is worried. If I make a decision on price, I'm going to affect my market share. I'm going to affect my friend and others. So for that case, you can find the price may remain the same, may remain rigid for longer time because there is price war among the firms. Now, this price war can be bestly explained in the so-called kinked demand curve. Now, a kinked demand curve, it is a demand curve which is existing in oligopoly market. It is trying to explain how a price rigidity exists. How do firms in this market experience price rigidity? This is for the case of price kinked demand curve. So it is a demand curve which is explaining behavior of price and output under oligopoly market structure. Now, this demand curve, it appears like this one. If we have these quantities and we have these prices, it means if we have a demand like this, this is demand. This point, it is called a kink, where it is bending. So assume this is our price. It means this one will be our quantity. Now this point is indicating that decision of the firm to lower or to increase the price, it has got impact on the market and it has got impact to the firm. So that's why at this price one can remain rigid for longer time without changing, because on changing by one firm, it is going to affect him or affecting the whole market. For that case, for example, the upper part, it is classified to be elastic. That is elastic. So the upper part is elastic, while the lower part is inelastic. What does it mean? It means the upper part, a smaller change in price is going to affect or it's going to cause larger change in quantities. That is elastic. A smaller change in price will result into larger change in quantity. Now, for example, let's say one individual in the market, or oligopolistic firm, decided to increase the price from P1, let's say to P2. Now we have P2 here. So try to check the change in price is very small, but observe the change in quantity. This is quantity. So it means quantity will have changed by greater proportion than price if you check this distance than this, because this upper part, it is elastic. So a smaller change in the price will result into higher change in the quantity. So if you lower price, it means there is possibility for this customer and the friend will ignore. So it means if this firm decide to increase the price, other firm they have to ignore, because that part, it is elastic demand. So the other firm will ignore. For that case, this firm will lose such many quantities, and probably its revenue will fall, its profit or market share will fall. Likewise, when you decide to lower the price, even by greater proportion, like maybe you lower price from P1 to P3 now. Try to check, this is now P3. So this is price 3, but this is quantity 3. Now try to check, after lowering the price, quantity has increased by smaller proportion. That's why it is inelastic. It means when you lower price, there is possibility that some other firm, they may follow your decision or they may also ignore, because it depends. Remember, when the price has fallen by greater proportion, even if quantity increases by smaller proportion, that means there is no benefit here, because you can still also lose revenue here, because you have lowered the price by larger percent, then quantity has increased by small percent. For that case, there is possibility to lower your revenue, to lower your market share. So decision of lowering or decision of increasing, they are both not benefiting the firm, not benefiting the market. That's why the price will remain for longer time at this point, because all decision of increasing or lowering, they are not benefiting the firm, because on increasing, you have to lose market share by a larger proportion. But on decreasing price also, you may increase quantity sold, but because the price is low, the revenue also can fall. So all decision of lowering or increasing price, they are not benefiting the firm. This is for the case of kink demand curve, as it is explained by this diagram. Now, let's complete the part of oligopoly market by checking the types of oligopoly market. Types of oligopoly market. Types of oligopoly market. So types of oligopoly market. Now we have two types of oligopoly market. One, we have the so-called pure or perfect oligopoly market. Pure or perfect oligopoly market. Now, a pure oligopoly market, it is a market structure. It is a market structure where firms are selling identical or homogeneous products. So in this market, firms, they sell homogeneous product or identical product. Then you say this market, it is a perfect or pure oligopoly. For example, we have market like those I said, oil supplying or producing or supplying companies. This they have pure or perfect oligopoly. We have these people called the supermarkets. Supermarkets. These are also pure oligopoly, because they sell in the supermarket to get the same service. We get exactly everything the same in the supermarket because of this one. So these are examples of the pure or perfect oligopoly. Then number two, the second type of oligopoly market, we have the differentiated, or we say it is called the imperfect oligopoly. Differentiated or imperfect oligopoly. Now this is a form of oligopoly market where firms are selling differentiated products. So they sell differentiated, or can say heterogeneous product, differentiated products. The products may have cross substitute. The product may be substitute one another, but they are differentiated. A good example of these markets which they are selling this product, we have a market, for example, we have car producing companies. Car producing companies. It means all companies which they are producing and supplying cars, they are in the part of differentiated oligopoly. We have different car producing companies like Toyota, which is one of the largest company. We have Nissan and other forms of car producing companies. These ones, they have differentiated products. Though as I said, the product, they have the same use or they are substitute to one another, but they are differentiated. We have the other example, this one we say tea tea processing companies. That's why you can find in this differentiated oligopoly, it is very easy to find stiff or very high advertisement in this type of market, differentiated oligopoly. For example, when we say tea processing companies or those distributing tea, for example, if we say maybe this is Simba tea, we have Simba tea, we have the Kilimanjaro tea brand, we have the Chai Jaba, the Chai Bola. All of those, they are companies or organization producing and supplying tea. For that case, these are part and parcel of differentiated oligopoly. That's why you can find there is very high competition in this type of market, because they compete in advertisement and other forms of competition. Even the aircrafts or those companies producing and supplying aircrafts, they are a form of differentiated oligopoly. They compete much in advertisement so that you can win the market. This is for the case of differentiated oligopoly. Now, this is the end of discussing features and characteristics of these markets. Then we have a short break. Then after the short break, we'll try to answer some questions which they are appearing there. Now, welcome back after the short break. We are going to solve some questions. So try to observe from the screen there. We have some questions there to discuss. Now, the first question, that is question one. Question one, it is asking, Company N is the only producer and supplier of Uzima drinking water in the economy. Does this mean Company N is a monopoly firm? Discuss. I read again the question. Company N is the only producer and supplier of Uzima drinking water in the economy. Does this mean Company N is a monopoly firm? Discuss. Now, having seen what is a monopoly market, having seen what is monopolistic market, having seen what is perfect market, and what is oligopoly market, then the question is asking, this company, N company, is producing and supplying Uzima drinking water. Uzima is the name of the water. It means Uzima, it is standing for other names of water. It could be even Uhai, it could be even Hill, it could be Maisha, Kilimanjaro, or any other form of water. So the water is called the Uzima drinking water in the economy. The only supplier of Uzima in the economy. Does this mean that Company N is a monopoly? Now here we have first to define what is monopoly. To recall what is monopoly. You try to recall first what is a monopoly, so that you defend the question if this firm will be a monopoly or not monopoly. So you have to remember first who is a monopoly. We said a monopoly is a firm or a market where there is a single or one supplier who is supplying a unique product which has got no cross substitute. It means the firm is producing and supplying a unique product, and that product has no cross substitute in the market. Now, according to this question, that Company N is producing and supplying Uzima drinking water in the economy. Now, for it to be monopoly, that means we give this condition. Part one, we say if there are no other companies which produces and supply water, Company N will be a monopoly, because you see, this is the way we go now. That if Company N is a monopoly, it means if there are no other companies which are producing water, that means there is no any other water out of Uzima in the economy. It means the economy has only Uzima. Then the firm will be monopoly or will be a monopolistic. Why? Because one, it means there is a single seller, because you assumed that if there is no any other company which is selling or supplying water, that means company N will be a monopoly, because reason one, he will be a single seller, company N. The second one, Uzima Water has no close substitute. Uzima Water has no close substitute. That is the second reason. The third reason, FEM is price maker. FEM is price maker. So that is also indicating that if there is no any other company producing and supplying water, so it means this FEM, who is the owner of company N, will be a price maker. But also there is no distinction. Sorry, distinction between the FEM and the industry. No distinction between the FEM and the industry. That is one of the reasons, because there are no any other companies. So in the market, this FEM will emerge there as a monopoly. Then the other part, you say if in the economy there are other companies producing and supplying drinking water, then the FEM will be monopolistic. Monopolistic because, so now on the other hand, if in the economy there are other companies out of company N, which they are also producing water but not Uzima. They are producing water but not Uzima. That means there are other substitutes of Uzima water. It means now you can find in the economy there is Afya water, there is Hill water, there is maybe Maisha, there is Ndanda, Udizungwa, and the other, Maji Africa. All of them, they are in the economy. That means there are now many companies producing water which they are substitute to Uzima. Then the economy or that FEM will not be a monopoly, but will be in a monopolistic market. Because one, there are many FEMs. There are many FEMs. Because you said out of company N, there are another companies which they are also producing and supplying another forms of water. So there are many FEMs. The second one, FEMs are price maker. The third, there is distinction between the FEM and the industry. So it means if there are many FEMs there, it means there is distinction between the FEM and the industry. Because if we have the company N, we have Adono company X, we have company M, and all other companies, and they are all producing water. That means all of them together, they form water drinking company industry in Tanzania. For that case, you can make distinction between the FEM and the industry. Number four, there are close substitutes. There are close substitutes in the market, and the last one are product differentiation. So for that case again, in the market, the FEM will be considered as a monopolistic market, because due to those many FEMs which they are producing different forms of water, then you expect the economy to have product differentiation in terms of water, because there will be other forms of water out of Uzima drinking water, then there will be product differentiation. So these ones, this is how you could attempt that question. If the FEM, if in the economy there is no any other company producing water, then company N is a monopoly because of these conditions. But also, if there are other firms which they are producing and supplying water, then the firm will be in a monopolistic market because of these conditions. So this is how you could attempt this question. Now we move to question number 2. Question number 2. Question number 2, it is asking number 2A, explain 4 non-price competitions used by firms in a monopolistic market to win the market. Explain non-price competitions used by firms in a monopolistic market to win the market. It means non-price competition, because some firms are competing on price. But now in a monopolistic market, they can use non-price competition to win the market. It means you explain those non-price competition strategies that firms can use so that they can win the market. This is for the case of question number 2A. So question number 2A, that is non-price competition. It means when we say non-price competition, these are competition of the firm or are strategies out of price which firm designs them to win the market. That they are non-price competition. They are strategies that firm uses in order to win the market. That is, it is the firm is using to win the market above his or her rivals. Now these non-competition, they include, for example, one, you can use advertisement. This is non-price competition, advertisement. We can see, for example, these companies which they are producing, like maybe the cellular networks, like Tigo, Vodacom, Airtel. They are giving the same form of service. But those ones, they compete in advertisement. To win the market, advertise your product, advertise new products to attract more customers. So one of the strategy, it is advertisement. The second one, it is proper or good labeling. That means through labeling. You can find these companies, they win the market. One of the strategies is to use good labels. That is good labeling. The other one, that is good packaging. Packaging, that means those goods should be well packed in such a way that people, they can use those commodities. Try to think why most of people, they can move maybe from a very far distance going to buy commodities in supermarket, because in a supermarket goods are well packed, they are well labeled, and they are sure of it. You can find the same item which is sold around home there, but people, they are not buying from that area, they are going to the supermarket, because in supermarket goods are well packed, they are well labeled because of that tendency, competition. Then the other one, you can use this one, grading, where now the product may be sorted in different forms, in different ways, and others. So these are some of the non-price competitions which a firm can use in order to win the market. This is for the case of question number 2A. Now we move to question number 2B, which is the last part. Question number 2B, it is asking, describe 5 criteria to consider when classifying market structures. Describe 5 criteria to consider when classifying market structures. It means in market structure, we have seen some part there, market structures. Now, when you want to classify market structures, what do we consider? It means market structures are classified depending on some criteria. We base on some criteria. Now, what do we consider? So that we say this is perfect market, this is imperfect, and specifically this is monopoly, this is monopolistic, this is oligopoly. What do we consider to classify those markets? So the question is demanding you to explain or to identify those key elements that you can use when classifying market structures. Now, some of those we use. One, we use the nature of the products. Nature of the products. That means we classify market structures basing on the nature of product. For example, we say this is perfect market because there is homogeneous product. We say this is monopolistic market because there is substitute goods. We say this is a monopoly market because the product sold is unique, has no cross substitute. So one of the factors we consider it is the nature of the product sold in the market. If it is homogeneous or if it is differentiated. This is the first factor. Then number 2, we consider number of sellers and buyers, but sellers most important. Number of sellers. So again, we can get classification of market by considering the number of sellers in the market. We said if the market has got a very large number of sellers, then we say that is perfect market because large number of sellers. But if it has got few, we say it is oligopoly. If it has got one, it is monopoly. So we find that we get market structures, or we classify market basing on how many sellers are there. Is there a very large number, or many, or very few, or one? Then you get those market structures. But also when you consider buyers, because you have those, for example, monopson, where there is only one buyer. Oligopson, there are only few buyers. Duopson, there are 2 buyers. So for that case, when you consider number of buyers and sellers, we get different market structures. Number 3, we consider the influence on price by the firm. Again, we can get different market structures by considering the power of the firms to influence market price. In this market, do firms have power to influence market price or they don't have? For example, we say this is perfect market because in this market, firms are price taker. That means firms do not have power to influence market price, because that's why now we say this is perfect market. We say this is monopoly market because these firms are price maker, or we say this is monopolistic because firms are price maker. This is for the case of these firms. So we can check also the influence of firms to influence market price. Then nature of competition. Nature of competition. So another factor or criteria we consider when classifying market, we consider also the issue of nature of competition. Is that market having competition? Are there competition? Competition is not the same as number of sellers. Having large number of sellers does not always mean there is competition. The market can have very few sellers, but competition is very high. That's why nature of competition and number of buyers, they are 2 different things. It means here we can have 2 sellers. We can have only 3 sellers, but the competition is very high. For example, we said oligopoly market has got few large firms, but they compete. The competition is very high. But in monopolistic, there are many sellers, but you can find maybe in monopoly, competition is less than in oligopoly market. For that case, nature of competition can give us the nature of market in that way. Then another one, we have nature of demand curve. Nature of demand curve. Nature of demand curve. So again, we can classify market structures basing on the nature of demand curve, because demand curve, it is the one which is helping even to determine the price. So we can check in terms of nature of demand curve. For example, we say for perfect market, the demand curve is horizontal. That means indicating that firms are price taker. So it is horizontal. Where you go in imperfect market, the demand curve is sloping downward from left to right, though they differ. For example, they both, if we have maybe this is, let's say this is quantity, this is price. We said for perfect market, this is the demand curve, AR is horizontal. This is for PCM. But for example, if we have, let's say we have, here is price, quantity. Again, we have, here is quantity, and here is price. Then let's say this is monopoly, and this is monopolistic. We said for this market, their demand curve, they are sloping downward from left to right. But try to check. You'll find that demand curve for maybe for monopoly, it might look like this one. This is AR demand, this is MWARA. But for monopolistic market, you can find the demand curve is like this one, AR, this is MWARA. So you can check the difference there, that in monopoly market, the demand curve is steeper. That is steep, indicating that monopoly has got more power to influence market price than monopolistic. In monopolistic, the demand curve is sloping down from left to right, but it is gentle, it is elastic, indicating that they have power on price, but limited power. It means when you compare monopoly and monopolistic, monopoly has got more power to influence market price than what the monopolist can do, because their demand curve is almost gentle, while this one, the demand curve is steeper, indicating more power on the price than this one. So we can also use the demand curve to classify market structures. You can also use the last one, advertisement. Advertisement. We check, is that market involving advertisement or not? So in perfect market, there is no advertisement. While in imperfect market, especially in oligopoly and in monopolistic market, there is advertisement. And in oligopoly, it is especially for the market, for differentiated oligopoly. We said for the issues of supermarket, the issues of those tea blends, the issues of car producing company, they compete in advertisement. So in oligopoly, there is advertisement, while this one, there is no, in perfect market, there is no advertisement. In monopoly, there is no advertisement because there is only one seller selling a product which has got no cross substitute. So no advertisement. In Tanzania, for the case, for example, you cannot find TANESCO advertising electricity because there is no other competitor for producing electricity. So for that case, no need for TANESCO to advertise electricity. For that case, we'll use it by any means. That is for the case of this one. So this is the way we could attempt question number 2, both part A and part B. And again, this is the end of our lesson. Study hard and struggle for your success. Thank you.